Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of Let's Cover Korea. We have finished round number 2 of the LCK regular season, and we're off to the road to MSI. And there's one question looming over the number 1 team here in the LCK, which is, will history repeat itself? dGon here alongside Wolf. And yes, Hanwha Life Esports, yet again, going into the road to MSI, is trying to fight off the ghosts of MSI past, where they had a prime position to make it to MSI and lost out to Gen.G and to T1. The same thing could happen here yet again, Wolf. Despite finishing first this time, compared to last season, they were second to the indomitable Gen.G roster. They have the opportunity, 2 chances to qualify into MSI, this time against a match against T1 first, who finished second, and then the winner of Gen.G versus probably KT or whoever comes out of the 6th, 5th, and 5th, 4th matches, which are Bro, Dplus, and KT. So, Wolf, that's the question. Do you think history will repeat itself and Hanwha Life Esports will miss out on its second MSI?
I mean, last year they were 14-4 going into the bracket, right? So they weren't favorites to beat Gen.G. Gen.G, by the way, people forget this, were insanely dominant last year. They were the reverse DNS. Like, DNS is -31 right now. So think about like how horribly wrong it's gone for DNS. Gen.G were +31. Like, they were so massively favored. But after Hanwha got the 2-0 start in the series, everyone thought, oh, okay, I guess it's going to be an upset. I guess Hanwha's going to go. They're really good. And then they got reverse swept. And then they lost to T1, who was 11-7 in 3rd place. Like, it's a very different season last year than it is this year, where Hanwha were at the 1st place spot basically for as long as after they beat KT and had only lost that first match to them and otherwise had been in first the whole time, right? And like had beaten everybody else for a majority of the season. Like, they obviously dropped a few games and were very close to losing their 1st place spot, but ultimately were able to defend it yesterday. But Hanwha Life Esports, this time around, I think it's interesting how they're 15-3, their 1st place, right? They're at the top. And I think everybody just keeps talking about it like it's a sure thing that they'll end up going to MSI. They're like, well, will it be T1 or Gen.G that goes with them? When they lost to Gen.G already in their most recent best of 3. And I'm kind of starting to feel like this could be an upset. I mean, not even necessarily an upset. I wouldn't even necessarily say that if T1 or Gen.G beat them in a best of 5, that's an upset, because we haven't even seen this team play best of 5s yet. Like, we don't even know what that's going to look like with their drafting. And they've showcased a lot of different play styles recently. They're playing a lot slower. That doesn't mean that they can't go for the hyper aggression, because they still do, as they've showed against Gen.G. That is their thing. But I think if people are like, oh, I'm so shocked that Hanwha didn't go to MSI, I'm like, I don't know if we've all been paying attention, because Gen.G and T1 are getting better. It's not that Hanwha is bad or getting worse. It's that T1 and Gen.G have been catching up. And we've talked about this on the show already. And it makes you wonder, because we've been wondering as well, like this whole time, will Hanwha be tested in best of 5s? Will they be able to pilot a best of 5? If it goes to game 5, like, what's those champion pools going to look like? Because last year they were many times, and we found that their champion pools were insane, and they were really good at actually playing those longer best of 5s and Fearless. That's what they were famous for. You know, picks like the Vladimir top and stuff like that last year that we're not seeing right now. So I wonder if they will make it to MSI. Like, I feel like it's both, I want to say, unknown. Like, I don't want to say it's likely or unlikely, but I think it's not an upset if they don't go. Like, if they don't go right now, I don't feel like it's a shock. If you looked at only their, like, if you had a graph of their standings and it's like one, like, all the way across, you're going to be like, but they should go. I don't know. But, like, if you actually look at the games and what the gameplay looks like and what T1 and Gen.G look like right now, I think it's a much closer conversation.
So this is where we disagree. For me, this would be a massive disappointment if Hanwha do not go. And I think it's because you've got MVP caliber Zeka pumping through in these wins, and that was one of the major reasons why they lost this last series. Zeka had a bad day. I think when Zeka is on form and being supported, he is the catalyst that gets them from a great team to a world-class team, to a team that can fight for world championships. And rarely is there a game where, because they've lost 3 series, right? They've lost to T1, to KT, and then now most recently to Gen.G. And only in the KT Rolster series did he have a good game when they lost. But if he has a bad game, they definitely lose. It's just been it allows Kanavi to play the punch through, steal everything in the jungle, we're all diving style. And in case that goes wrong, Zeka is there to be the late game insurance and cover up. But if Zeka can't get to that point, like what happened against Gen.G, they then become like, well, these leads better be big enough for us to snowball it out of control because we don't have that late game insurance. And we've seen, as you said more recently, better versions of it, more resilient versions of it for Hanwha, because we know they can play that early aggression, and usually around the second Drake, that's where their gold lead explodes into something that the rest of the league doesn't do. A lot of the league can get early leads, including my bros. They can get early leads, but then once they get to that second Drake or third Drake, second to third Drake, that's where they've faltered in that time between second to third Drake, and then at the third Drake, it all comes crashing down. And so for me, and I think Hanwha Life Esports fans, you have to start thinking with the championship caliber mindset, right? Gone is Peanut. Peanut is no longer there. He's that carryover along with Viper, who brought them to that 2024 championship. And Dorn was on that roster too. It wasn't Zeus, right? And so I think you're starting to lose some of that caliber and pedigree that has that expectation for it, right? Zeka was like, okay, caught lightning in a bottle, DRX, we won the world championship, pretty crazy. And then it was kind of quiet until, okay, we won the 2024 season, summer, by the way, not the whole year setup that we have. Let's do it. And then since then, we've been good, not great. And now they've figured it out, from that 10th place embarrassment to first place finish, taking care of business here against the Bros, where they just, in their most recent match, they picked a very strong standard composition. They let the Bros pick Twisted Fate top and get a little cute with their draft and said, you're just not better than us. And that's what they need to do. That's what they need to do. Go into these matches against Gen.G, against T1, and be the better team that they already are, which includes being the team with expectations and meeting them. That is literally what Gen.G and T1 have accomplished over the last, 4 or 5 years, until Worlds, if you're Gen.G. But to have that expectations of perfection throughout a split, which is what Gen.G did last year, and that expectation to show up in the biggest moments, which is what T1 has done for the last 4 years, that is what Hanwha Life Esports needs to do. And I think it's a mindset shift, because the play has shown they can do it. They tried, especially in round 2, to diversify their gameplay and not just be the early game jungle team that's going to punch you in the mouth and dive under 2 towers and still get away with it. They've tried to play more standard compositions, have been able to, and they've asked a lot of Guma to play on the weak side but still have an impact. When I think of the 80 carries right now, I think your boy Pays is up there as probably the best. And before we get to Ruler, I think it's Guma. Ruler always has that oopsie in the mid lane at some point who you just dies and it stops the momentum of Gen.G. And you're like, this could get punished by better teams, or if they didn't have a massive lead. Whereas Guma has minimized those, and especially on the Ashe. On the Ashe, it's not just winning the lane. It's these cross map, this is how we're going to win, ults that then punch the game open.
I kind of feel like the difference between Ruler and Guma is where they seem to be weaker and where they seem to make mistakes. I think Guma makes a lot of mistakes when he's weak siding or when he's in the 2v2 that Ruler doesn't make. But Guma doesn't make mistakes in the mid lane, post laning phase where he's farming, where Ruler makes mistakes there, right? Like, I think that's kind of the difference between the two of them. A lot of the time, Guma has like a weak laning phase and he's weak siding, right? Doesn't get the farm or gets camped by the enemy jungler, and then gets out of the lane and still does a lot, right? And I think for Ruler, as long as he gets ahead in the lane and that doesn't necessarily have resources in the mid lane or is being greedy in the mid lane for farm and ends up getting punished and costs Gen.G some of their power and control. Sometimes they still win the game despite it. Same with Hanwha, right? Sometimes they win the game despite a Gumushi that's like 0-3 or 0-4 in a game, which has been more common than I think people think recently. I think that one of the things that you said about like the elite class, like can Hanwha Life basically be like the elite championships level squad, right? Like they don't have Peanut, they don't have Viper, but they have to have the confidence. I like what you said there because I do think that a lot of the time Hanwha in the past, especially with different rosters, like they've been through so many different rosters, but like when they had those chances to get those upset wins, because they had for many years, we were like, oh, this team could do it maybe, but probably won't do it. Like it
Yeah.
was kind of like the B&K in Hong Kong situation where you're like, oh, that's really cute. Maybe they could do it, but you didn't really believe they were going to do it. Like that's kind of how Hanwha was for many years, and I think Hanwha's players played like that too, where they would go for these crazy drafts or go for these crazy all-in plays in the early game. Peanut would just literally go to the enemy jungle and try to camp the enemy jungler and solo kill him and stuff like that. And you're like, well, I don't think we have to play like this, but they're playing like this because it feels like they're trying to cheat a win over the enemy team in a lot of ways, rather than just kind of like be like, we have Viper, we can play slow, and we can actually outscale and actually just better team fight them. But this team feels like it's kind of stepping back a little bit over the last 3 regular season matches in round 2 and being like, we don't have to just send it with Kanavi between 2 turrets every game. Like we actually just play slow. We can just scale up. We can play through Zeka. Zeka's got good macro. Zeka's actually got a big champion pool now. Like he can play mages really well. He's a good control mage player. And so I think that realization has got to be comforting for especially some of the veterans on this team like Zeka, who have been through the ups and downs of this roster. Zeus, who's been there for a while now, and has had his ups and downs personally as well. I think that my feeling for this roster is it's always been that it's got problems during certain times. Like Peanut's struggling for a little while, or like the bottom lane's struggling for a little while. Delight's struggling for a little while, and or like, oh, Zeus had an off week. That was a little weird. We've had some of those, or, oh, Zeka, it's not a good meta for his champion pool. Like, there's always like some sort of issue for Hanwha. It has been in the past that Gen.G and T1 don't have, where it's like, oh, is it the meta changed? Gen.G and T1 are fine. Like a lot of the time. Obviously, T1 have had a lot of struggles, and they've had a lot of up and downs. But when it comes to like the real non-regular season matches, like the best of fives, the playoffs, they always hit, right? They always are ready. They always play well. And this might be the first time I've started to trust that Hanwha has like all the pieces, they're meta proof, like that they actually aren't gonna just stumble here. Like how many times have we had like in big best of fives, like the finals last year? It's like, oh, Zeka's playing, he's playing Victor. It's it's probably just they're done. Like that last year we had that game where Zeka played Victor and we were like, oh, everyone's like, oh, I don't know about this. Like this seems bad. And like it's the grand finals of a year of LCK. And we're like, he can't play Victor. That's I guess they lost. And then he couldn't, and they like played really badly and they lost, and we're all just like, how did this team get to the finals? Like how is this like how it ends? He can't play Victor? Like what? Like that, I feel like that's not a thing anymore. Like now he can. Now he can play Ziggs mid. Like his Orianna is really solid. Like that's kind of like the feeling that I resonate with what you're saying, and that this team is no longer just is it a fluke? Oh, is it a cute little Hanwha upset? No, it's like, oh, this team might actually just be the best. They might be the most dominant. They might actually be the top dog for real, and it's not just temporary, is what they're fighting for, is what they're playing for here, and what they're trying to prove. And that's what we're going to find out, like, if they can prove it. Because the one part of this roster that, I said, like, there's a lot of issues, but maybe they fix most of it, and they're, like, a well-rounded team, is I feel like Guma and Delight have not been consistent. I feel like that's the part that I thought would be the most consistent on this roster, and it kind of hasn't been. Looking a little bit better after Bluffing came in, and Delight seems to be a little bit reinvigorated, but that's where I'm worried for Hanwha when it comes to these best of fives.
Yeah, I agree, and it's because, in my opinion, I think it's because they've been trying to figure out how to use Guma with the least amount of resources, and I think the Light was having a pass. I think it was a mixture of both. It was from a strategic perspective, giving Guma less, and from an execution perspective, Delight kind of not syncing well with Kanavi in terms of when they wanted to go in and how they wanted to go in. And that was the whole reason that Coach brought in Bluffing and had Delight watch and just be like, hey man, this kid is really good, but you're still our guy. So I want you to just see what you would do differently, because he's just going to listen, which is what he mostly did. I mean, Bluffing didn't do anything too crazy. He was just a passenger in the game. Just kind of like
He had that one outless game where he was like kind of popping off and being aggressive, but otherwise I do generally agree.
Well, yes, but that was out of the laning phase. In the laning phase, I remember watching that one real close, and I was like, this dude's not fucking landing anything, but they're also not getting punished in that lane. Who was the player that came in and started and got a win? We're like, oh my god, he's 100% win rate. Let's see if he gets the 100%. Who subbed in this week? They had a sub.
For which team?
I don't remember.
I mean, you're not thinking of like Oiv. Oh no, you're thinking of Charvel, but he didn't.
Charvel!
He didn't have 100% win on the games, but he did win the series.
Yes, but he did have 100% win rate after game 1, right? That was like the whole thing. They tossed me 100% win rate. I was like, this is stupid. It was the same. That's how I felt with Bluffing. I was like, this is like, stats for Bluffing didn't matter. For me, it was I'm believing what Coach Olm is saying, because Coach Olm is made for these big moments. That's what he's done over in the LPL, and is trying to get his players to be in that kind of championship mindset of we need to be willing and understanding of how to defeat the Gen.Gs and T1s of the world. And to do that, I need my support to link up a little bit better. So, long story short, I believe that they should do it. I believe that it is a disappointment if they don't go. And then it leaves it to T1 and Gen.G to figure it out. T1 and Hanwha are not playing next week. So they've got that 2-week break to prep for both each other and probably for Gen.G. Like if I was them, I would prep for Gen.G, do a little bit of prep for KT, but mostly prep for Gen.G. Go back in the draft, see what wrinkles that are there, and see if they can get a jump on the patch, on the meta, moving towards the road to MSI for Wonju.
So, I went from, you guys who follow this show regularly for the last 2 weeks, I've been pushing this idea that I think maybe T1 and Gen.G are back. Like they're the top 2 teams again, and that like Hanwha's run was kind of about the fact that they were figuring things out. Not that like I'm not trying to say that T1 and Gen.G were just like messing around and happy gaming because it doesn't matter and they'll win the best of 5s. I mean that like they were struggling, but they figured it out and they're now actually back to their elite form. And after watching Hanwha's last few games, and believe it or not, actually the loss to Gen.G, especially in that first game, the way they played, their loss to Gen.G, weirdly enough, even though they lost to Gen.G, convinced me actually that they're not worse than T1 and Gen.G. Like I was like, okay, they're all basically to me like on a straight line, and it's going to come down to the drafts and the form on the day, which is crazy. Like if you're one of those hipster people, or you're trying to get into like a prediction market, I wouldn't like necessarily put your money on any of these teams right now, because like this is right now, I feel like the closest, most competitive top 3 we've had. Like we've had so many upsets where like one team was massively the favorite, right? But they didn't end up winning in the best of 5 in the finals because on that day, they didn't hit, right? When like we've also had this happen where you have a team like Gen.G go to an international tournament and bomb, right? They don't do well, even though they were like so dominant, et cetera, going into Worlds, for example. But it's so hard for me to if someone said like, please rank these teams 1 to 3, I would just look at the person and write like 1, 1, 1, and like write all 3 names in of the teams.
That's like, annoying. That's so annoying, bro.
Because it's just like I don't. I feel like it's really hard to have an argument right now. There's like not enough proof for any team to say that they're the better one. Like you could try to say Gen.G is better because they just beat Hanwha, so therefore in that best of 3 they proved they're the better team. But it was like one-sided games where the games all like except the first game, the games were like decided by some early game stuff that snowballed because both these teams were really good at snowballing. So it felt like we didn't get them tested in a best of 5. Like that was very volatile. That's how this meta is. I didn't walk out being like Gen.G are clearly better. I didn't feel that way. I felt like Gen.G had a great game. They played solid. They did what they're good at. Hanwha had their also great game as well, but that close back and forth was the exciting part for Hanwha, where I was like, wow, they actually know how to play this out. They know how to play it slow. They know how to get back in. They had to claw back, because so much of Hanwha's year is just it's like sucker punching the enemy team, and then it's like, aha, I won. Like, it's over. You can't even do anything, and it's such a freebie because we won immediately, and not like having to actually figure out what to do from behind. And they prove that they can do that in that series against Gen.G. So that made me more hyped. Like, I'm actually just really, 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 really excited for these best of fives, and it almost makes me wish we could just call Rito and say, can we send all three? You know, I mean, wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. Well, all three will be going to EWC, as they have already booked their tickets there. My thing that puts them over the edge here, Wolf, and if this happens over at, like, in either series at finals for Hanwha, if they lose and then have to play again, and this leads us into week number 9, what bot lane champs, what bot lane duo has entered the chat with this most recent week and is the patch that we're playing on here for Road to MSI? Famous duo. What bot lane duo, what bot lane champ duo popped into the meta this week?
Bot lane champ duo?
Yeah.
Well, we were seeing a lot more Caitlyn, that's for sure. Caitlyn and
Yes.
Bard. But also, Xayah Rakan was making a bit of a comeback.
Xayah Rakan, what is Guma Yushi and Delight's most played champions by far across their career?
I mean, it's
Xayah
it's
Rakan.
obviously Xayah Rakan. So that's good for them. I still think I still think that's it's still pretty niche, even though it's making a bit of a comeback. I think it's a fairly safe pick right now in this meta, the Xayah. And we kind of are starting to move towards a little bit more engaged supports slightly.
Engage, baby. And Delight is a what kind of champ? What kind of support?
He likes the engage. He does like the engage champions.
Rakan, Alistair. He makes it. He makes that engage. Rel, Leona, Nautilus, and then you get Braum. But it's just like, we're getting to Delight meta. I'm excited. Like, every meta is carry meta. Delight has a specific meta, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
Well, I think both Keria and Duro are also very meta proof. So I agree with you. I'm like, this is great for Delight, and he seems to be one of the less 100% rock solid. I'm not saying Delight's not rock solid, but like, he's, you know, if you're gonna try to pick a weak point, like maybe it's him and him and Guma. At least it's better for him, right? Like, it is looking like we're heading in a direction that's better for him. But also Keria, but also Duro. You know, like, I'm agreeing with you, but also going, well, you know, Duro's also good at engage. Keria is also good at engage. So that's my counterpoint.
Yeah. I guess
it's not Kellen, okay? They're not playing it. We're not talking about Kellen.
Yeah, we're going away from Kellen meta. No, sorry, Kellen. Sorry, Taeyun. Your time is up. Kellen's been playing really well. But I digress. This week, pretty straightforward week here, Wolf. Week number 9, the final week in round 2, and basically the final week of spring regular season. We had already locked in Legend and Ryze group beforehand, but when we look at the standings and look at the streak number, the top teams are all on a winning streak, and the bottom 5 are all on the losing streak. That's how straightforward it was, everybody. Like, if you were a Legend team, you were playing weaker teams, or we had those two top 4 matches, the T1 KT, Hanwha, Gen.G. They played each other earlier in the week, but then they finished their season on the winning note, which I find this just very fascinating that the schedule makers made it work out this way. But there were no upsets. There weren't surprises in terms of like standings, but we got to see a little bit of a change here in the meta in terms of champ picks. The Rumble is starting to be let through a lot more. You also brought up the Caitlyn, and then the Xayah Rakan has popped up more as a bot lane answer. And then there's one more in the mid lane that you said that has gotten through more, is getting played more in the Ryze.
Yeah, the Ryze is looking like it is just it's doing too many things. I think teams are very happy to blind pick it right now. if you don't want to show your bottom duo and you don't necessarily like if you don't have like the Jarvan first pick available because it's banned away, I feel like Ryze is getting more popular because the Orianna and Cassiopeia bans are there. And the Anivia counter pick is only working out in the hands of a very few select players like Chovy and Faker right now. So if you just pick the Ryze, it feels like it's global, so it can impact the side lanes, can impact the bottom lane more notably. Obviously, the ability to get your bottom lane ahead has been how Ryze has been utilized a lot very recently, even in those early dragon fights. And you clear waves, so if you're behind, you can actually like buy time and deal with the Baron. And then when you get Actualizer, you're really, really powerful on that third item spike. So he's doing a lot of things. I think for a while after Phase Rush was removed, a lot of teams just weren't 100% sure how he was going to be played and how that was all going to work out. And he was a little bit more vulnerable, and we were seeing teams make mistakes and overextend, feeling like they had that Phase Rush safety that they didn't have anymore because it was removed. And then now we've gotten to a point where it's stabilized and it's really strong again. And players like Zeka, are like popping off on it, right? So it's a pick that obviously all of our mid laners were pretty known for, with the exception of Zeka, I would say. Like BDD known for great Ryze, Faker, and Chovy, of course. But now Zeka, also a good Ryze player. So just something to keep in mind, I think, as we move forward, that pick is going to be up there with the Cassiopeia in terms of top picks and the Orianna. So that's a big development, I think, for this week. The week was boring, otherwise, like, DNS got a win over Nongshim, like one game win, which broke their game loss streak, which was cool, but it was against Nongshim, who are really struggling right now and are actually now our 9th place team. So it's like, well, 10th place on -31 got one game off of 9th place. Doesn't feel like it's that much to celebrate, but that did happen. That was the closest to an upset that we got this week.
Yeah.
Dplus also dropped that game to Yuumi with Charvel, which was, it was what it was, but
Sharva was a passenger in all 3 games. Like, I think I was with Hooney. Maybe I was with Did that day, but we were like, we were like 25 minutes in, and my jungler 0-0-0. He is done no good nor made a mistake, which is generally not good. But Charvel is one of those last pieces from that D plus like talent treasure trove when Lucid got pulled up. Remember, Lucid got pulled up, Charvel came in, and Charvel played with the rest of those guys that eventually moved on. Yep.
Shu and Charvel played together for a while and were a really strong duo together on the top side of the map. I do think when I look at this week, I my feelings are kind of two, which is like we're at the point of the LCK season where everyone's like, all right, I really need some best of fives of the top teams. Like, I don't want to watch anymore, like, T1 stomps B&K. I don't want to watch anymore, like, B&K versus QMDRX. It's like, oh no, like, this is going to go 3. I'm actually like, I kind of want to go do something else. That 6-game day started off like super sick with the Gen.G Hanwha, and then it was like, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to stay till the end, like, after I watch that epic series, I want to see more of that. I don't want to see more of the other side. And like, it also, especially with the last 2 games that we had, which I kept saying yesterday on the broadcast, last cross-group play for regular season for Ryze and Legend, and it was like, okay, it's a good thing we have Ryze and Legend. Like, it's a good, like, these teams should not play against each other. It is a disaster, and it's horrifying to watch, and it's not enjoyable. I think once we have all these best of fives against the top teams, and there's like a break, and some of these bottom teams can get their act together, so to speak, and like start to maybe rebuild some stuff. It's a new patch, we'll have a new meta, new storylines. Then I think people will be happy for Fry's group. People will be happy for like, oh, Elder Throw, like, this is great, like, the silliness that ensued there.
Yeah.
But right now, I think people are just like, I don't want any of that. I don't want any of the stompy games. I don't want any of the trash games. I just want our top 4 playing best of fives against each other. And we're very close to that, so that's good.
Yeah.
But it was, I think, to me, a stark reminder that this week was a stark reminder that once we get deep into the season, we
know.
have like, everything settles. Like, you get to a point where it's like, will KT upset T? No, they won't. They won't upset T1, actually. Like, it's like, will Bro upset Gen.G? Could that happen? No, they won't. A few weeks ago, we're like, maybe Bro could do it. They're in great form. Maybe they could beat Gen.G and Hanwha later on. Like, we were all saying, like, it's not impossible for Bro to beat these teams when we get to week 9.
We're going to Worlds.
And then when we got to week 9, we both of us and everybody in the world was like, there is zero chance they take a game this
There's
week.
zero
And then
chance.
they absolutely did not take a game this week. It wasn't close. It was not a fun time. So we're at the point where we know who's good. We know who's not good. We know that. What we don't know is who's the best of the top 3 teams. I think we know that KT, even though you keep for some reason thinking that KT, like maybe you guys are stopping KT too early. KT's
Yeah,
still good. No,
they're
they're
still
not top
good.
3. No, they're
Okay.
good. They're good. They're top 4. That's a good thing. It's LCK, like being top 4. I mean, imagine if Bros were top 4, you'd be like over the moon, right? But
Yeah.
KT are just top 4, which is fine. They were number 1, but that was fake and not real, and everything is settled. That's what I'm saying. We've settled. There is no like, but what about no Bros, no Dplus, no Dplus miracle run. It's not happening. It's not happening. They could still go to Road to or they could still go to EWC because of the 4th season. No, it's not happening. They're not going to MSI. They're not going to EWC. It's not going to happen. They're not in the conversation. I'm sorry, Dplus fans, but you're not. And Charvel's not either. Charvel's not going to MSI.
Yeah, well, actually, what I like most about this Road to MSI bracket is, there's that little bit of nostalgia that was like, just a couple weeks ago we beat KT. We were a good team, and it gives me that one last go before we get condemned down to just disappointment anytime that we drop a game to someone else in Fry's group, which will happen because we're in Fry's group, and also the team has 6 wins. Like, Bros have 6 wins. It's not like they're like 8 and 10, right? Where they just missed out. Very similar to what Dplus had last year, right? Dplus barely missed out on a legend group with Nongshim and KT. And because of that, every game was a disappointment, whether you won or lost. Whereas the Bros at 6 and 12,
5-loss streak.
It's it's very lucky, right? It's very lucky, and each win will mean something, building towards something greater. And as you said, I didn't want to see, like, it would be great if they get an upset win, cool, but and then move to 5th. And but I just think if they took a spot from KT at the roadshow in Wonju, that to me feels like, what are we doing? What are we doing? We're ruining the league because you're gonna get blasted by Gen.G and KT's potential of, being ready for Worlds and being potentially like, a solid 4th seed could go disastrously. Also, poor KT fans, they show up. They show up to road shows. And when they had their roadshow over in Busan last year, it was very surprising, Wolf, how many KT fans showed up.
Yep.
I don't know how many Bro fans are going to show up down in Wonju, because as much as Bros are very popular globally, they are, I think, the 3rd most popular team in the LCK globally when we talk about like emotes spammed in Twitch chat. They are not very popular in Korea. They're just not. They can't.
I mean, they I think with Teddy getting picked up, gained a lot of fans because obviously Teddy is, let's be honest, he's an XT1 player, so that's the main thing. But he's Teddy, right? He's done a lot. He's succeeded a lot in his career. I think has, even on weaker teams, been very popular, and the case in point here as well for Hanjin Brian. But they don't have the results to have the fandom. Like, you look at QMDRX and you're like, wow, they have so many fans, but they're so bad right now. They're so weak. But it's like, well, they won Worlds, so that's where the fans come from. Damwon also like had a World Championship run, but also were incredibly dominant the way that like Hanwha and Gen.G, this season Hanwha, last season Gen.G have been in the past. Like, they have been incredibly dominant. Not quite 18-0 dominant, but have been like, the LCK's best team, clearly best team over the course of 2 years in the past. So that's why they have all those fans, right, that stayed with them. Bro hasn't had that moment yet. They haven't had their bromant, which could be in Wonju.
Oh my god. That was so smooth. That Wolf has had a great week, everyone. Not everyone gets to sit through every piece of Wolf casting. I do. And my god, Wolf's week has been so fucking good. and it just carried over to our podcast. Y'all are blessed.
But like, what if they go? What if they go to Wonju? Right? Like, let's look at the bracket because
No,
this could
stop,
be the moment.
stop,
Hold on.
stop making me think this and
All right.
feel
So
this.
remember last week. I think it was last week. You said this where you're like, "What tournament should we be most excited for Dplus?" And then I was like, "I don't know what you mean." And you were like,
The Asian
"EWC."
Star
Like, go to
game.
EWC. Well, I said that, and then you were like, "No, I'm talking about EWC."
I know
Because
you
you were
said
like, "They
Asian
could
Star
win."
games, which is also a funny fucking answer.
Well, like last week at the EWC or the EWC, the final weekend there, or
yeah.
esports weekend, Monday, Tuesday, the offline games that happened in Sangam, they we were like, wow, isn't it crazy? All they have to do is win one best of 5. Like when you look at it that way, it's like, well, they could go, they could go right now. Like it's crazy that could happen. And then
Yeah.
they just got booty blasted. It wasn't close. It was like the worst series I've watched all year in terms of best of 5s. They just weren't even there. Like they didn't even show up. Like Hanwha just said, like, get out. Like, just you don't even need to be on this stage right now. It was such a disastrous series. I was so hyped for it because of the implications of what it could mean. And I was really looking forward to casting it. And after the end of game 2, I was like, I also want to get them out of here. Like, this is just sad for them. Like, for them, like, I don't want these guys to have to go through another game. And they did, and it was not pretty. But, like, bro, against Dplus, we're talking about, a historically good matchup for bro. Best of 5 there. They already beat KT. They've already beaten KT recently. If they just win those two best of, I'm not saying bro's going to MSI. Okay, they're not going to beat Gen.G if they do go there. But like maybe they go to Wonju. They go to Wonju. That's kind of epic, right? Like bro goes to Wonju.
Bro going to Wonju would be like bros winning worlds. Like bro fans meeting in person. The Wonju Stadium is a 4,300. I just looked it up. Capacity, the basketball stadium. It would be a great family brothering. That didn't work. Gathering. All right.
You gotta. It's usually you gotta go with the O ones or the better ones.
All right.
Or you gotta go BR like brathering.
Brathering. That's right. Family brathering. There we go.
So like I don't think it's necessarily going to happen, but it would be cool. And I think even if they go, the T1 and Gen.G ticket sales will carry the crowd, so it's fine. I don't think it's gonna be like empty because there aren't enough bro fans. I think there's plenty of T1 and Gen.G fans that'll be like, "Oh, sick, it's bro! Like maybe we'll get tickets. Maybe we can actually get a better chance than if it was KT, for example, or Dplus going." I don't think they're gonna do well. I think it's Brover, as we've said. I don't think they're even necessarily. I wouldn't even predict them to beat Dplus right now necessarily. I have to think about it though because it is tempting. But like, what if they do? Is the question I'm pushing for. Like, what if the bros go? It'd be their first like offline tournament. I guess when they won Kespa Cup, that finals was offline as well, but it was not in a roadshow venue. Like they went to the roadshow against T1, which was the first time they played played in front of a crowd that big as an organization. Excluding the Najin days, of course. Technically, that was the same org. But since they've been Breon, have not had anything like what they had until that T1 home ground where they got 2-0, 2-0, but it was close. It was interesting. It was hype. Like it looked like they played to the crowd well. What if bro get the crowd energy? They beat Gen.G. Oh my god. They go to MSI. No, it's not gonna happen. But what if it did happen, dGon?
Stop. No.
Gideon's
it would ruin LCK.
Like, he gets up after they beat Gen.G in game 1. He like gets up and goes in front of the crowd, starts clapping. The crowd's going wild, and
the crowd would go wild. The crowd would absolutely. I don't know how I'd be able to host a desk, man. Like I would lose my shit for sure. Damn, we bro-leaved for like 3 or 4 minutes there, Wolf.
Not mathematically eliminated from MSI contention.
I mean, it has been. No, God, it's time for the ad read. This message is sponsored by Raycon. If you're figuring out what to get your dad in your life this Father's Day, we've got you covered. Raycon's Everyday Earbuds Classic have been my go-to for daily listening, and they just make sense for any dad who loves getting outside but also appreciates actually being able to zone in when he wants to, whether that's relaxing at a park, going for walks, traveling, or unwinding with music or a podcast at the end of the day. The active noise cancellation is so good, it blocks out background noise in a way that makes everything feel more immersive and focused without any effort. It's that rare gift that works for so many different moments in his day, not just one. And if that has you wanting a pair for yourself too, now's a great time. They're 15% off. You've heard me say before, I lost my pair. I actually found it in one of my suits. So now I have 2 pairs, which is great because I love them so much. It's packed with upgrades. They've got the active noise cancellation, multi-point connectivity, so you can pair your with 2 devices at once, your headphones with 2 devices at once, and a super comfortable ergonomic design that stays put no matter what you're doing. I wear it at the gym. I wear it when I'm playing sports. We've been playing a lot of pickleball as a crew. I can wear these doing all of it. And before, the one I've showed was the rose gold. This one, the cool mint. The colors are exactly what I want. If you're not flashy, don't worry, they've got black as well. And here's the kicker. Raycon delivers the same premium audio quality as the big brand, but at half the price. Add in over 3 million happy customers and get a 30-day happiness guarantee. There's 0 reason to overpay. So hurry up and head on over to buyraycon.com/LCK to get 15% off. Upgrade your dad's everyday routine by heading over to buyraycon.com/LCK to get 15% off. Thanks to our friends over at Raycon.
You can
All
play
right.
your Don't Ever Say It's Brover.mp3 with the best audio quality, on the go wherever you are. So make sure you do, as dGon said, and go check out Raycons.
All right. Quick couple hits before we call up the predictions for next week, which are just 2 matches. Asia Games. It was announced officially that China will not be participating in the Asian Games, specifically in League of Legends.
Yeah.
They are participating in the games that they got golds in last year. But
I'm
they
not
won't be
100%
participating
sure
in League. Sorry.
why this happened, but it was pretty heavily rumored for people were telling me weeks before this announcement came out that this news was gonna drop. And usually when I have a lot of sources that I trust telling me stuff like this, I'm like, well, I guess it's real. But this was the one that I found difficult to believe, right? Like I was like, this is actually so important. I think that for us as LCK commentator slash host over here, um, we're kind of like, they're the final boss. It's like finding out that the final boss in your video game just isn't there. So like when you get to the end, like you just save the princess and like everyone gets military exemption, and it's just like, oh, okay, I guess we just win now. So I think the reaction online has kind of been, it's been a little bit different for everybody. I think most Korean fans are just like, okay, GG, we win. But then other fans are like more upset that they didn't get their player that they wanted in the roster because they're like, see, this would have been like guaranteed exemption for this player. And like we picked some players who already had exemption and now they are not needed. Like some people are like, they're not needed per se because it's just going to be a free road to the title. So that's kind of been like overall the reaction. A lot of people were just kind of, it felt like it reopened the old wound for those who wanted their player in the roster and didn't get it. But it's kind of, it feels weird to me like that, like we're thinking about this from the military exemption perspective and like what the roster means, but also like it just feels like, I don't know how I'd feel as a player. I'd feel like I'd be kind of torn. Like if I was a player going, okay, well, I'm going to get this title for sure. I'd be like, that's competitively, this is good for me. I feel really good about this. I think we're going to win for sure. But also kind of feel like a little bit cheapened. Like, oh, that's the boss. Like that's the one we're supposed to beat. Like that's how we earn the gold, and that's how we prove that we're the best, nation at this game in Asia. Like that's the Olympic goal for this. Is like Korea. It's representing South Korea, and if everyone is just like South Korea is the best because they beat the Asian teams that are not competitive at all, then it just, I feel like everyone is like kind of clapping like, all right, yes, we did. So it's just very awkward. It's very awkward for everyone, and I don't understand why China pulled out, but like there's no official reason as far as I know. They're just not there. So
Yeah.
weird.
I think it changed the objective now to let's get some of the players that have earned it, deserved it as great sportsmen of one of the biggest esports in the world and points of cultural pride for Korea, their military exemption, right? I think that needs to be the play. You don't take anyone lightly, but with the retirement of some of the big names in the region for the other countries, in terms of like Levi moving on for Vietnam, Maple moving on for Taiwan Chinese Taipei. I think those types of roadblocks then make it like, hey, this is what it should be for, which is get the exemption for those players. And so I think it makes it a little tough for a player like Keen, who didn't get selected. Maybe there's a world where they change the selection, which I highly, highly doubt now. But maybe it's a player that's like, actually, I will step down. That would be fascinating. But either way, Korea should
Yeah, I think
win. They need
people
to
want
win.
that, but I
Yeah.
don't think they're gonna get it. Like you're saying, I think people are hoping that maybe it's like, we don't need Zeus anymore. Just get Keen in there. But I think that if you, as the Asia Games like Korea committee and Kespa make that choice, it's embarrassing, and it's also like it basically just, I think what it does is it rips away the facade of a lot of what this is, and it's just like, we're just doing this to get gold medals for our players so they don't have to go to the military. They can keep playing in the else. Like, it's basically a statement of that. If you just go, well, we don't need Zeus anymore, and you pull him out of the roster. But I just don't think you can do that, because the whole point
Yeah.
was we picked the best roster to represent Korea. And you can't just be like, well, China's not there, so we can like kind of not pick the best roster for funsies. It's not going to happen, fans. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Unlucky. Yeah, we'll see what happens there. EWC, as you said, there's been some confusion. I just wanted to clarify. So Dplus KIA is going. Like, Dplus KIA is the 4th seed for EWC. I had that clarified for me earlier. So it is. Gen.G already has the auto qualification. T1 and Hanwha were the winners of the qualification tournament. And no matter what, KT cannot be the 1st seed going to MSI. So they cannot win the road to MSI. So therefore, they are not going. And the tiebreaker isn't your standing in the league. It was the placement that you got for the road to MSI qualifier. So with that, they are going. We have our 4 teams already going for EWC. And
So it's your so just to clarify, so it's your in the standings, it's your position in the standings. So your round 2 finish standings is the seed you are. And so that's why Dplus is going. Is that what you're saying?
No, Dplus, it was the standings from the
Road to
road to
EWC.
MSI or road to EWC. Sorry, yeah, I was saying road to
Okay,
MSI.
okay.
Road to EWC, right? So first place was T1, second place was Hanwha, third
Okay, I
place
got it.
was Dplus. I don't even know who 4th place was. Who was 4th place? Was it B&K? Or was it Nongshim?
Nongshim, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't even KT. So Nongshim almost went. Wouldn't that have been crazy?
So basically, okay, I didn't actually realize this. You and I were talking about this the other day, but you hadn't fully like finished clarifying.
Yeah.
But I guess it makes sense because obviously only Hanwha or T1 could win first place for MSI,
Exactly.
because they already are qualified for EWC, and like no one else is in that matchup without being top 2. So
Exactly.
it was always going to work out this way. I find that to be a little bit strange, but I guess it makes the road to EWC qualifier more important, which makes sense because it's a qualifier for EWC and this is just LCK. Kind of anticlimactic, I guess, in some ways, but
Yeah.
I
I
guess
do
it is
think
what
there
it
would
is.
be some answering needing to be done if somehow KT make the run and do take one of the spots to MSI, then I think there's a big uproar. Otherwise, I think it makes sense and I understand it. But if they do get one of those tickets and look like they win our weird non-finals finals, then yeah, I think then both establishments look a little goofy, right?
And KT
LCK
is
with no finals, and then Road to EWC not bringing one of the teams that is going to MSI.
KT really bombed EWC qualifiers, like really, really bad. It was when they had their little like dip, and they just played so badly at in their facility. I guess maybe like KT is the opposite of Dplus. Dplus was playing really well in the like kind of online environment. KT was playing badly in that environment. But yeah, if KT go to MSI, at least you could say, well, they played really badly at the EWC qualifier, which is the main tournament to go to EWC outside of just the seed placement. So it's weird, but I guess I can headcanon it. I can wrap my head around the idea of it and not be too upset, even if like you said, Bro goes to MSI or something. KT goes.
Yeah. So, I'm trying to think. Is there anything else here? No, I think that's it. It's a pretty straightforward week.
There's not a whole lot of drama. There's nothing going on this week. It's just no drama in the games, no drama out of the games. Sometimes that's how it goes.
That is indeed sometimes how it goes. I am excited because this is the first time we get a little break here, Wolf. I don't cast until Sunday, or I don't host until Sunday. So that was 7 days off for me. And then we have Saturday, Sunday's matches. Obviously, I'll be watching the Bros on Saturday. And then we have our Friday, Saturday, Sunday, our 3 days of matches down in Wonju. We'll probably head down, Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday, probably Thursday. And then I get married the week after that. And then after that, it's not news yet, so I won't say it yet. But then I've got something after that, and then I'm off to EWC.
Wow.
So we'll see.
Dropping the announcement of the announcement over here.
The announcement of the announcement. Wolf, who you got here for our 2 matches? It's Bro. It's Dplus.
So
let's angle it.
Is it Bro? Am I a Bro predator? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so, because I think Roamer. I danced around the idea of like Roamer is doing so much utility wise after bad laning phases. His 0-4 Annie had that big Tibbers engage. I think he's doing exactly what he needs to on Bro. Well, when you think about the matchup between Bro's weakest player in Roamer and Dplus's best player in Showmaker, and Smash has been looking better as well recently, but I think Showmaker is still definitely Dplus's best player right now. That's a bad matchup for Bro. That's not good. I don't think you can necessarily just Teddy your way out of this series. Are we going to do score preds? Because it's a best of 5. I'm going to say 3-1 Dplus. I'm going to go Dplus 3-1. Don't think I can't go Bro here.
Yeah. I have to go Bro here because I'm the Bro guy. But I think Dplus really dispatched Nongshim in a way that I don't think showed too many holes in the game. And I don't think Bros really showed too much against Hanwha, right? They tried a draft thing and it didn't do anything, right? This was a brew and lose kind of classic here. And I understand Dplus are literally in the building. You already knew you were going to play them. Maybe we show them something that we're not even going to ever try with the Twisted Fate top kind of composition. So give me Bros 3-2. But in my heart, I think Dplus. Or in my brain. In my heart, the Bros win. In my brain, I think it's a Dplus.
Whoa. Freudian slip. But I think that would be the most epic. I think that's the literally best broadcast and best storyline scenario is what you just said. Like, Bro, like whether it's a reverse sweep or not, or it's back and forth 1-1, then 2-1, then 2-2, and then bros ultimately win the penultimate game. Like that is best possible Saturday that we could get. Epic.
I would love that, but it's not. It's just difficult. So, and then let's go Dplus versus
Dplus versus KT.
KT.
I'm gonna have to go KT here. I think BDD is not Roamer, and Cuz he's slowed down the hyper aggression. Like he's slowed down the crazy a little bit. He and BDD are starting to link up a little bit more. But honestly, you know who's the best player on KT right now? It's Perfect, and Perfect is going to get it done.
Yeah.
It's crazy how like both Perfect and Aiming are just like, BDD and Cuz are kind of like doing that thing where they're running down a little bit. Guess I'll have to carry. It's funny that is the world we're living in, where we could say like BDD and Cuz kind of need to like get it together, because Aiming is really consistent and very, very good, strong AD carry player right now that you can trust. And yeah, I think even in a world where it's KT bro, I think that there's just not enough proof that casting is going to be able to stand up to Perfect. There's no way that Roamer is going to get it done, I don't think. I think their loss last time around to Bro was when Bro were in their peak form, and I think we can all agree that it wasn't that like everybody else suddenly got better and passed Bro. Like Bro had their moment, their bromant, but not the true bromant in Wonju, not yet, unless they win both of these series. They lost that synergy. Like they lost the way they were playing, and they lost their confidence, and maybe they'll get it back in rounds 3 and 4, and maybe they'll make some miracle run. But right now, I don't see it. So KT over Dplus official prediction is probably 3-1. I would say, yeah, I'm just a 3-1 Andy, very boring. 3-1, 3-1 for these matches Saturday and Sunday.
I would take the step and go 3-0. Again, my belief in KT is high. And yeah, give me 3-0 KT. Kind of another straightforward week, unless not. And if that's the case, it's exciting either way, whether it's Bro beating Dplus, whether it's Dplus beating KT, whether it's Bro beating both of them. Like, that would be enjoyable. But I feel like we've gotten to the point now, like we said at the top of the show, when you take a look at the standings, the top teams are the top teams and the bottom teams are the bottom teams. And then we have a Bro daring to dream. We'll see if the Bro Leaf gets rewarded next week. Final thoughts, Wolf, before we sign off?
No, I just want to tell everyone that even though I got off the Bro train and I'm not a Bro leaver and that it's Brover, I want you all to know I want it to happen. It's what I want. I don't trust that it's going to happen. I can't predict that's going to happen. I'm not on the belief train, but I hope that I'm celebrating on this show next week after they do it and they're going to Wonju. That's what I want. Can I have it, please, bros? That's my last thoughts.
Bros. That would be quite the dream, but we'll find out. And we'll have it all covered here on Let's Cover Korea. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. Sign up for the LFN Herald, our newsletter across everything esports, gaming, nerd news, and more, so you don't miss any of the action. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.